Hi, I'm Jessica, coming to you live from Nautilus Mission Control at the Inner Space Center in Rhode Island. And we're joined today by Dr. Bob Ballard, president of the Institute for Exploration and driving force behind Nautilus Live. He's currently in the studio on the exploration vessel Nautilus, which is currently in the Mediterranean Sea between Sicily and North Africa. And as you can see from our live feeds, the ROVs Hercules and Argus are currently in the water, exploring submarine volcanic cones, looking for geologic activity and interesting biology. And for the next 20 minutes or so, Dr. Ballard will be answering your questions live. So if you have any questions for Dr. Ballard, feel free to type them in along with your name and the state where you live using the Send a Question tab to the right of the screen. Also keep in mind that he's about 5,000 miles away, so there'll be a slight delay between my question and his answer. Finally, if you want to get back to the live exploration on the ship, feel free to switch over to Channel 2 or the Quad. All right, let's get started. Welcome, Dr. Ballard. Thank you so much for being with us today. And before I take any questions from the audience, I was wondering if you could give us a little update about what's happened so far this season.
It began in late June. Finished for this season, a 4-month deployment. It began at the beginning of our deployment this year in the Black Sea, and it was a fascinating place. We've made a lot of amazing discoveries in the Black Sea, but this year we hit some big home runs. We discovered a lot of ancient shipwrecks, more than we've ever discovered in any one season there, and many of those were in a high state of preservation. And the reason for that is that the Black Sea is where there's no oxygen below about 150 meters. So that was an amazingly successful expedition in the Black Sea. Then after that, we came down the Bosporus, through the Bosporus, past Istanbul, went right downtown Istanbul. It's really a hoot. And then down the Dardanelles, hung a left, and went into the Aegean. And there we worked off of the ancient Greek city of Halicarnassus. And this was where Herodotus, the great historian, was born. And we established a series of ancient trade routes we discovered connecting Halicarnassus with other Greek colonies, in particular one called Knidos. And again, lots of home runs, lots of new ancient shipwrecks. And in fact, the ones that we really got excited about, both in the Black Sea and in the area off of Knidos, are from the classical period. Now, the classical period is about the 5th century BC. This is the time when the 300 Spartans were holding off the Persians at the Battle of Thermopylae, when they began to invade Greece, and then that battle was culminated, that invasion was culminated when the Persian navy was defeated at Battle of Salamis, just to the south and west of Athens. So very, very ancient periods of time, and we found these ships in such a high state of preservation. Then we headed over to the island of Santorini, and we continued our exploration of a very dangerous volcano called Colombo, and our work this year proves it's even more dangerous than we thought. We knew that it's a boiling cauldron. We've been in there for a couple of years and have been mapping these very violent hydrothermal vents, but we began to analyze the water within inside the cauldron and discovered that it has a very high concentration of dissolved carbon dioxide under pressure. So if that volcano turns over, if the water inside that volcano turns over, it could be deadly. Because as that water turns over and comes up to the rim of the caldera, which is only a few tens of meters down, it will bubble off a large amount of CO2. And there was an incident in Africa, in the country called Cameroon, when this turnover occurred, and that CO2 swept over the slopes of the volcano and killed a large number of people. They simply suffered. Now realizing this volcano is even more dangerous than they thought. Further west, working off of Sicily, working around a volcano called Stromboli. And Stromboli is the lighthouse of the Mediterranean during the ancient period of time, because it was constantly active, constantly glowing, and being used by the ancient mariner as a lighthouse of the Mediterranean. Also, Mount Etna on land is erupting right now, so there's a lot of action going on because we're off of Sicily right this minute. And we were exploring hydrothermal vents and looking for new life forms. And after that leg, we headed further west, began working off Spain, off ancient Cartagena. And sure enough, while doing a geologic traverse in that area, we came across an ancient shipwreck. Just came right in on us. We didn't even know it was there. And then after that, pushed through the Pillars of Hercules, famous in the story of Atlantis. The Pillars of Hercules are Gibraltar. And we went through the Pillars of Hercules out into the Atlantic Ocean, working with our Portuguese colleagues. We explored another violent area where two big plates are crashing into one another, and they're doing it so violently they literally pushed up segments of the mantle, which is normally very deep, more than 100 kilometers beneath the Earth's surface. It's been pushed up. And we explored that rock formations, and it was a very exciting journey as well. Double back where we are right now, south of Sicily this time, between Sicily and Tunisia and Libya, so we're keeping our eyes out. But we're exploring another volcanic area. In fact, where we are right now, and over my shoulder, we've been exploring a volcano that erupted in 1891. It literally made it to the surface. It had these huge little volcanic bombs that imploded and then fell back down. In fact, there was so much floating rock. Think about it. These were rocks that were floating all over the surface that it looked like there was land there, and countries were quickly trying to claim it. But in fact, it was floating. They all fell back down. We've actually recovered some of those bombs. So it's very exciting. And we're not done yet, but stay tuned at nautiluslive.org for the next several weeks, and we'll end up, like I say, off Israel in the middle of November, home in time for the holidays.
Well, thanks so much for the update. It's definitely been a really exciting season so far to watch. We've got a lot of questions coming in from our audience, and the first one is about our ROV Hercules. Is there a Hercules Jr.? If so, can you tell me more?
Yes, there is a Hercules Jr. In fact, it's called Little Herc. And we've loaned it out right now to NOAA. There's two ships of exploration that our country has. One is the Nautilus, the EV Nautilus that I'm on right now, which is really operated by the Ocean Exploration Trust. And I want to say hello to one of our trustees out there, Riley. We're having a great series of expeditions. And the Trust and the Nautilus are privately held, whereas there's a government ship called the Okeanos Explorer that's based actually in Rhode Island. It just came in after its journey from the Pacific Ocean. And on that ship is Little Herc, and that is the ship, the vehicle system that they're using right now. So yes, there's a Little Herc, and then there's the big one that we have.
And the next question that's come in is, what is your favorite sand creature?
My favorite sand creature? Never ever had that question asked of me. I would have to say clam. I love clams, and I spend a lot of time on Block Island digging in the sand getting clams. So that have to be my favorite creature because I taste really good, particularly steamers.
Good answer.
A lot of butter.
Clams are good. Another question just came in. How many shipwrecks have we found this season, and what was your favorite?
Well, how many shipwrecks have we found this season? Well, I think there are at least 15. And my favorite was the classical shipwreck off of in the Black Sea, because it was such a high state of preservation and so very, very old. So it would have to be the one we found in the Black Sea from the classical period, 500 BC.
And we've got a great video highlight of that shipwreck if you want to check it out on nautiluslive.org. It's called Sinup Eye. Another question came in about shipwrecks. Do you ever pick up artifacts from shipwrecks, or do you leave them alone?
Well, our normal policy is look but don't touch. In fact, we're working on an imaging permit. Now, having said that, there are times when the archaeological community says, now that is just such an important shipwreck, we really want you to bring up a limited number of artifacts so we can, in many cases, get a better date. And that might be a piece of wood, it might be a ceramic object, or most likely it's terracotta, an amphora, or something made out of pottery, because they're very distinctive in their shapes. And so sometimes we're asked to recover a small number of artifacts, but then we have to apply for a second permit, which is a collecting permit. We'll probably be applying for a collecting permit for next year, but this year was just imaging only.
And the next question that's come in is, what is your favorite thing to find in the ocean? Is that shipwrecks?
Well, my favorite thing to find in the ocean is something totally unexpected. And it could be a perfectly preserved shipwreck, although we're now knowing they're there. I think the real fun ones are when we find something we had no idea. Hydrothermal events in 1977, and we didn't have a clue they were there. Black smokers. I can rattle off a whole bunch of things we've discovered that were not in our textbooks. They were not predicted, and that's in fact why we're making such an emphasis of moving away from research to exploration, because my greatest discoveries, yes, and ET-109 and all that, but those ships, it's the discovery of unknown things that I'm most excited about, and it's the way science works. You go looking for one thing, find something much more important. So I'm confident there are a tremendous number of new discoveries to be made. I just can't tell you what they're going to be. And that's why we use this amazing technology of telepresence. So we can't fill the Nautilus with all the experts on the planet, but we can deliver those experts to a discovery within 30 minutes using the Inner Space Center where Jessica is right now, and beaming our discoveries to scientists who can literally move their spirits aboard the ship and then down our fiber optic cable inside Hercules and actually take over control of the vehicle system from thousands of miles away.
Yes, we get to watch the live feeds 24/7 right here at the Inner Space Center every day. It's very cool. The next question that's come in is, why aren't there a lot more fish swimming around Hercules' camera?
Well, you know, if we slow down, they'll come in. I mean, I'm looking at our depth right now. We're at 453 meters, okay? So we're in eternal darkness. So first place, there's not a lot of food down here, so you don't have a lot. The deeper and deeper you go, the population drops down. I mean, there's always life, if there's oxygen, all the way down on the bottom. We've had cases where if we sit here long enough, we develop sort of a mini community of creatures. We have isopods and small little things that look like fleas or mosquitoes that come in on our lights. And then when they come in on our lights, the fish come in to eat them, and then the bigger fish and the bigger fish. We can create a food chain if we park here. But when we're in exploratory mode, we're constantly on the move. But we have encountered some pretty big critters. We've encountered a very large shark yesterday. We're always seeing life. It's just not in high concentrations because there's no, the energy of the sun isn't here. Having said that, if we come into a hydrothermal event, full of life, because there you get an energy system that's driven not by the sun but by the heat of the earth, and you get a very large concentration of creatures.
Now I've actually got a question coming in about the Titanic. In 1985, what was the crew's reaction when you realized the Titanic was in two pieces?
Well, our first reaction, I mean, we were pretty confident when we were searching for the Titanic that it was actually had broken in half and was in two pieces. Although we were in a minority, there were a lot of people that thought she sank intact. So we were pleased that we were right, that she had actually broken half, and that was critical to our search strategy because we were relying upon debris coming off the Titanic by busting up. And with the Titanic broken half, it was like a giant salt shaker dumped out its contents, and then those contents were carried by the underwater currents, the underwater winds of the sea. So our footprint, the scatter, would be much, much larger, and that's what we were counting on. So we were very happy we were right.
Your hypothesis came true. Another question just came in from Allie in Virginia,
Yep,
who would like to know, what was the first ROV that you made?
The first one that we built ourselves from scratch was little Jason, and Jason Jr. we called it, or JJ, and that was the one we sent down the Titanic. Went down inside the Titanic, and that was very cool. That was our first little ROV, but we operated it from the submarine because we didn't have the fancy cables and all the technology we have now. So we sort of carried it down on our submarine, and the submarine couldn't fit in the grand staircase, so parked next to it, and then we sent JJ down this big hole, and it was a magical trip with chandeliers hanging from the ceilings, and it was pretty cool.
Very cool. Well, another website viewer has a question. How long have you had this job?
I've had this job for a long time. I mean, I don't know which job you're talking about, but anyway, I've been an undersea explorer since I stuck my head underwater as a kid growing up in San Diego. I went on my first major expedition in high school. I was 17 years old, and I won a scholarship from the National Science Foundation. I went to sea on a ship. That was what was that? Let me run the numbers. 52 years ago, half a century ago. Boy, the technology was primitive back then. So I've been at this for 52 years. I've done about 120, 130, I've sort of lost count, expeditions. Now with telepresence, I don't know what to count. But I've been at it a long time, and I'm just getting my stride. I feel like with Nautilus, we've just begun to really cook, because now I'm spending more time underwater than any time in my life. And it's wonderful, but I can also be home with my family. I'm out here because I enjoy coming out here, but I'm not essential. My team is much better without me here, but I come out and bother them a little bit. I'm not doing anything. I'm sitting here talking to you, and someone else is running the show behind me, and I've got great students, great confidence in them. So I'll keep this up, but I'll let the next generation do most of the rowing.
And it's clear you love life on the ship, but does life at sea ever become challenging?
Oh, life at sea is always challenging. The biggest temptation I have is right behind the camera is 3 refrigerators full of an amazing selection of ice cream. And I'm trying to keep my weight down, but there's amazing ice cream right beyond my grasp. That's the biggest temptation I'm faced with right now. But we're able to actually, we plan our expeditions to try to stay in good weather. I mean, that's our biggest nemesis, is bad weather. But even in the greatest of weather, things happen, and we've had challenges all on this expedition. We had a brand new cable that we had a problem with, and we fixed it. We thought we was going to terminate the whole deployment, which would have been really bad. We had some issues with our jet thruster. We figured that one out. I mean, the key is you know, things always go wrong. I mean, you know, life is not, you know, without its problems. The question is, do you have smart enough people to fix it? We don't have any, our vehicles, we don't have operating manuals for our vehicles because we have the people that built it. So that's a big advantage, to have really intelligent people. And I'm spoiled by it. I love excellence. I love to be surrounded by extremely competent people. And we have a shipload of them. And it's nice. And so we've been hitting our challenges, but been overcoming them so far.
And we've been watching the engineering team do a great job overcoming those challenges all season long. I've got one more question for you. What can I do to become part of the Nautilus team?
Well, you start by going to school and studying hard. That's why we have the Jason project. That's why we have immersion learning. We really want to excite you about exploration, but then we want you to do your mental push-ups. We want you to be on our team, but we want you to prepare to be on our team. And so that's why school is very important, and you can never get enough of it. So I would start by just, you know, hunkering down and getting good grades, and seeing that the teacher's not the enemy, your parents is not the enemy. They're trying to encourage you to live your dream, but to live your dream you have to prepare yourself. So I'd get involved in the Jason project. If you're in a Boys and Girls Clubs, I'd get involved with immersion learning. Watch our programs on National Geographic. We have a TV series coming out in September. It's going to be a great series. And then I'd certainly get involved in nautiluslive.org and learn that way. So there's all sorts of ways of doing it. Come to Mystic, Mystic Aquarium, the Institute for Exploration, a great exhibit center, and a wonderful theater where we got Nautilus on the big screen. And so there's all sorts of ways. So if you don't do it, you know, you're not trying hard enough.
And sadly, that's all the time we have, but do you have any final words of wisdom for the next generation of explorers out there watching?
Well, I always encourage people to follow their passion, whatever it may be. For my son, it's the performing arts. It's classical literature. For my daughter, she wants to be a veterinarian. So I'm happy that my children are following their passion. It's nice to get them out on the Nautilus once in a while, but I know where their heart is, and they're going to pursue their passion. So whatever your passion is, don't let anyone talk you out of it.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Ballard, for taking the time out of your exploration to talk to us today. And thank you to our web audience for all of those great questions. Now, if you're excited about Nautilus Live, feel free to visit our website, nautiluslive.org, and follow us on Facebook and Twitter to get more updates. Again, I'm Jessica here at Nautilus Mission Control. Now back to the action on the ship.